Ariel Helwani in Cleveland, Ohio, alongside MMA manager to the stars. And I know he's going to get mad because I called him an MMA manager. But the reason I say that is because he is here supporting his guy, Tyron Woodley. He's, of course, the one and only Malki Kawa, who represents the likes of Woodley and Jorge Masvidal and Yoel Romero and Paige Van Zandt. We could sit here all day talking about his clients, but he is also a very good NFL, National Football League agent as well. He's got a lot going on, but he is here for the Jake Paul-Tyron Woodley fight. Malki, it is good to see you in person for the first time in a very long time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to see you too.
So you helped make this fight happen.
Yep.
You actually believe that if not for you, this fight doesn't happen. Fact or fiction?
I mean, yeah, I think there's a lot. I mean, yeah, fact. I would say fact because.
How did it happen?
So when the whole thing happened with Tyron and Jalen Love. Me and Nikisa have a really good relationship. It dates back to when he was at the UFC. Me and him have
Nikisa, who's
Jake Paul's manager now, right? He used to be the head of finance or something like that at the UFC. And so when I saw that, I don't think the fight was even over, and I was already like, "Yo, we need to do Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley," and I didn't get any answer, right? And then I think it was the next day or the day after that, we jumped on a call. And he offered me Jalen Love for Tyron Woodley. So I accepted in an MMA match. And then they were like, "Oh, get the fuck out of here, you're crazy, we're not doing that." I was, well, listen. And then from there, I started to pitch the whole Tyron, Jake Paul, and why that made sense for Jake Paul.
Now here we are. Fast forward a few months. We're in Cleveland. Yesterday at the press conference, bit of an ugly scene. How did you feel watching that? You weren't here yet. I think you just got here.
Right.
Seeing that everyone loves Mama Woodley, it got a little tense. How did you feel about the whole scene?
So you've pretty much been around my whole entire career from the beginning, way back in the days with all the ups with John, all the lows with John Jones and all this. You know what I mean? So you've been for a lot of my highs and lows, right? Yesterday probably was one of the worst days I've ever felt as an agent, sitting in my office, just being helpless, watching what was unfolding, and the fact that it was all around Mama Woodley. That to me was a problem, and then I immediately opened my door to the office, walked outside. There's another 20 cubicles and other offices sit there. And I was just like, "Who wants to come to the fight tomorrow? Raise your hand." And they had all been watching the thing live also. And my whole entire office shot their hands up. I'm like, told my assistant, book them all flights, let's go. And then they all jumped on a plane and we all took off. We're all here. So, I mean, it was one of those things where it just felt bad, you know what I mean? Because Mama Woodley, out of all people, she's the lady that when her son loses a fight, still goes to the guy that just beat her son and hugs him and says, "Congratulations, don't feel bad." You know what I mean? This is one of those things where, you deserve everything that you get. And when a guy loses, she's over there consoling that guy. So for another team to even say anything to her in any way, in any shape, in any fashion that's disrespectful or perceived to be disrespect, right? It shouldn't be tolerated, man. And it wasn't. I don't think it was tolerated at all. And I think it's kind of like it's a bad look on Jake's team and on Jake himself. You know what I mean? You got to be a little bit more professional than that. There's certain lines you just don't cross. His mom was there. Nobody disrespects her. Nobody ever will. Nobody ever will. Nobody on this side will ever try to fight fire with fire or go cross that line, no matter what they do or don't. It's just something you just don't do. And so, sitting there watching that yesterday was pretty tough.
The word is that Tyron is making more for this fight than he ever did in the UFC. Is that possible?
His base guarantee in this fight is the most he's ever made in a fight. Yes.
And even when he was champion.
Yeah, even when he was champion. But there was a few cards that he was on that he made. Listen, Tyron made a lot of money in the UFC also. Like I don't want everybody to think, "Oh, he was broken, this and that and the other." Every deal has its components. This deal will pay out more money, right, than any other deal he's ever done. Because I also think between the magnitude of the deal and the base guarantee, right, it's just going to pay out more. That's what I did, right, in the negotiation. So therefore, he'll make more money in this fight. But I think a big thing that a lot of you guys are missing is that if Tyron is not in the UFC and the UFC champion and does what he's done in his career, right, then, because you got to think, Tyron right now today, I think has the record for the highest paid pro debut in boxing with this deal. Higher than Jake Paul when he first fought, than anybody. So, but that's because of what he did in the UFC. And I think a lot of people are forgetting that if it wasn't for that platform, you know what I mean, we wouldn't be in the situation. If it wasn't for him being a champion, we wouldn't be in this. So the money part is great, yes. But I don't know that it was like, oh, because it's boxing, he got paid more. I just think it's a combination of the fight itself is massive. I think there was a little bit of history before they got here. I think now the fight's even bigger after yesterday. So there's a lot of things that went into it, and I think it's going to end up being by far the biggest payday.
As you know, it's been a tough stretch for him. Lost 4 in a row, hasn't won in about 3 years. And the biggest thing that was said about him was, look, he's fighting the best of the best. He's fighting Kamaru, he's fighting Colby, Vicente Luque, Gilbert Burns. But like it felt like he was stuck in neutral. Like, where's the old Tyron? Where's the guy who blasts you, right? Is the old Tyron back? Like what you've seen? I know he's trained in Miami, so I'm assuming you've seen some of it. Like, is that fire back? Is that guy who was beating, Robbie Lawler and Josh Koscheck, knocking them out? Is that the guy who's going to show up on Sunday, or are you worried that it's still the stuck in neutral Tyron?
No, there's no stuck in neutral. I don't think there's even a neutral in this thing. Maybe when I was 10 years ago when I was in this business, when we first got into this, right? Oh, my guy's going to knock him out. My guy's the best, da, da, da. And I would have sat here and I would have chirped all of that. Today, I don't have to say anything. I can tell you for a fact, I have never seen Tyron train the way I've seen him train now. There's a training session in the morning. There's a training session at night. But it's not like, hey, I went to the gym in my own gym in Missouri, and then I jumped on a plane tomorrow to LA, and then I went to Atlanta, and I brought Dean Thomas with me, and we rolled around in a hotel room somewhere. No. He came to Miami because it was away from everything. It was far away from everything. And for as much as Miami is a big distraction city, he was in the city of Miami, not in Fifth Street Gym in Miami Beach. He was in the city of Miami, Tropical Park, at Pedro Diaz's gym, and then he would go up the street to another area, which is in a place called Doral, which is not anywhere near the beach either, and he would go see GT. And so he would have morning, afternoon. And so he just did this whole camp, right, around these two coaches and these training partners and these sparring sessions. And then he did his strength and conditioning, and he did his recovery and all that stuff. So I feel this is the most focused Tyron I've ever seen. And a focused Tyron is what you guys saw when Tyron was out there blasting people. Mm-hmm. His mind was on it, right? No matter what was going on, he was on it. And that's what I see in this fight too as well. I do not think at all, there's no doubt in my mind that there will not be a neutral button on this one here.
How does he win? What do you think? What are you feeling right now?
KO.
Yeah. Early, late.
And I'm not saying KO because he's a big puncher. I just think that people have to sit here and look at it, right? We're not going against Mike Tyson. Mm-hmm. This is not Adrian Broner, who's fought 30 fights at the highest level. We're talking about a guy who's fought Ben Askren, who I don't think anybody would pick in a boxing match over Tyron Woodley, let's be honest. Nate Robinson, that I don't think anybody would pick over Tyron Woodley. And who else are we talking about? Who else is he fought?
The other YouTube kid.
Okay, and then you think that guy would beat Tyron Woodley in a fight, in any type of fight, with one hand tied behind his back. So I think what you're going to find in this fight is you're going to get two guys who are very young and raw in boxing. You're going to have one guy who's done it at the highest stage against the best opponents in the world. And then you got another guy who has the following, the media, the hype, everything around him. He's the next big thing. He's been able to, he's amazing in what he does as far as a promotional machine. But, bro, what are we talking about here? We're talking about one of the greatest welterweights in the history of the UFC who did it through his hands. We're not talking about a wrestler. We're not talking about Khabib who, we're not talking about a grappler. We're talking about a guy who, he was an All-American wrestler, but we know him for his hands, right? And so I like my odds in this fight. I like him a lot. I never would have done it and put his whole legacy on the line if we didn't think he was going to win this fight.
Last question. I know Tyron's your guy, and you guys are focusing on Tyron and Jake, but Jake went after your boy Jorge Masvidal. Masvidal last week on my show predicted that Tyron would win, and it seemed like he was just backing his fellow MMA fighter, same management, but he almost even went after you too, Jake did. He's like, oh, same management team, Jorge's this and that. You probably heard the comments. Yeah. Is this now going to be in the works? How's Jorge feeling about these comments?
Here's the problem. We all know that when you're under the UFC contract, you're not going to fight anybody outside the UFC, right? The Floyd Conor thing was a once-in-a-lifetime thing. It is what it is. I'll call Dana tomorrow, or not tomorrow, I'm sorry, Monday morning, right? Whether Jake Paul wins or loses, right? But he's going to probably lose. If the fight's still that big, I'll say, hey, do you have any interest? He'll probably tell me to go f myself, right? And then that'll be the end of that story. So the reality of it is that, for us to even waste time thinking Masvidal is going to fight Jake Paul, it's pointless. Jake Paul is the ultimate clout chaser. Jake Paul, when he was with Jorge Masvidal at the gym, I was there, okay? Yeah, okay, show me that again. Okay, so let's not get twisted here at all, right? A lot of respect to Jake Paul and his whole entire team. I'm not here to create more drama. But let's not also pretend that you're in Cleveland, Ohio, and he's in Miami, Florida. Because I bet you if he would have been here today with me, right, standing right here next to me, the whole demeanor of that whole team changes. Because we were in a room with him recently, about a month ago. And the freeze when there's not 15 dudes with him was there. The eyes that went wide open like this was there. Stop calling people out that you know you're never going to fight. Stop calling people out that you know that if you saw them in a room by yourself, right, that you're not going to do anything. And I don't mean that to try to start anything. I'm just telling you guys the truth because I was there. It was me, my brother, and Masvidal, right? And when he walked into that room, he looked kind of crazy like, oh, And I had to tell him, yo, bro, relax. You'll be all right. So that's the thing I'm trying to say. It's like what I'm saying is he's a phenomenal promoter. And I keep giving him all the props in the world. And I tell our whole team the gratitude that we have for him being a promoter and what he's doing as a whole for this sport, for former MMA fighters, for people that are, that potentially could come in and make more money. I think everybody should take their hat off to him. You know what I mean? He deserves that respect. But at the same time, you also have to understand, there's contracts, there's people in place. You can call Kamaru Usman out all day. You're never going to fight him. You can call out freaking, Khabib. Listen, George is retired. De La Hoya wanted to fight him, right? We all know Dana hates De La Hoya, and he still said, you're not fighting him. It's not happening. So what makes you guys think that he would ever fight George Masvidal? Unless you want to come to Miami and meet at that same gym and then do it the Masvidal way. But hey, you didn't hear it from me. I'm not saying shit. You know what I mean?
Good to see you as always, Malki. Good luck to you and the team on Sunday.
I appreciate that. Thank you.